Pill Talk family, this is your host, Dr. Bartu, coming at you with another episode. We got a lot of energy, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of information to give you to help you become a better person, better leader. So I want to introduce the guest for today, Dr. Adam Martin, better known as the Fit Pharmacist. He helped pharmacists go further and faster by trading stress for impact and income. He's a hope dealer, as you can see on his hat. So no further introductions. Dr. Adam Martin, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am blessed. I am so excited because your podcast, your community is so needed, not just in pharmacy, not just for physicians, but really for all of healthcare. Because a lot of us through our lives, we're starting to get burned out, stressed out, and we're looking at our industry, which is healthcare, and we're looking at it with confusion because we're like, wait, where is the health in healthcare? And how are we caring for others, let alone ourselves, when we feel like we're so behind and we don't even have a clue about what to do? So I think what you're doing is awesome, man. And I'm just really honored to be a part of this. I am so excited to be here with my man and with y'all because we are going to talk about some of the real sticky stuff, some of the stuff that everyone struggles with, but no one really talks about. These are the things that I like to call real talk. This is the deep dive, the stuff that you feel less than about, that you feel trapped, but you're working so hard, but it's like you're working harder and slipping behind farther. So what are you supposed to do when you're in an industry where everyone you're competing against has a doctorate and more degrees than a thermometer, and you're about to start your career and you already feel behind? So you try to struggle, you try to work, you try to put in more time, you try to get creative. And the more you get ahead, the farther behind you feel because you start to feel burned out. That's exactly what I do with my company, the Fit Pharmacist, and helping you dispense your full potential. And I'm super excited for this podcast interview with my man so we can dive in and give you the real talk on how to flip your script from burned out to lit up.
Man, I'm happy to have you here, man. You know, I came across your profile on Instagram because a friend of mine, he has a podcast too, and he was telling me there's certain people that's making a major impact out here in the community on social media that I need to like connect with, and your name popped up, and I was like, started scrolling through your information and all you're doing for the people, for students, making an impact, reducing stress for people, and I'm like, how can I get him on the podcast? And I had to reach out to you. So that's why we're here, man. So I do want to get to it. I want to jump in it and let people know a little bit about you before we start talking about what all you can do. And so that they can understand who you are before they understand what you can do for them.
For sure.
So what gave you your spark, your passion to get into the medical field?
So for me, actually, it was realizing that my mom had less than 6 months to live. When I was in high school, I remember it clear as day. It was a Wednesday, and my dad was supposed to pick me up after school. He always picked me up every Wednesday. Back in the day, you know, all us leaders started out with Key Club and all that stuff. Well, he would always be on time, but that day he was late, and I knew something wasn't right. And that morning, my mom went in for a routine colonoscopy. But when my dad came to pick me up, he said she failed her test. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but she was given less than 6 months to live when they caught the cancer. And that led me to interact with pharmacists a lot because we were in the pharmacy all the time for her chemo, medication, all that stuff. Now, at this time in my life, I didn't even know what a pharmacist was. I thought these were just smart people in a white coat running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Because I didn't know no neighbors. I didn't know no family friends. I didn't know nothing. But that caught my attention because it was right around that time I was getting ready to graduate high school. And the career that I thought I wanted to get into, which was being a vet, totally changed. Because as everyone knows, when you are 18, you know everything and you've got the world planned out. So I believed that a vet was playing with puppies and getting paid for it. Well, I had what you call a rude awakening when I went to shadow at a vet hospital and realized that ain't what they do. So I checked that off my list of like not a profession I'm interested in. So it was kind of like the perfect storm of timing when all this went down, because I realized I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was looking for direction. I was good at math. I loved science, and just seeing this passion of a total stranger showing genuine care for just someone in need, and not just giving medication, not just dealing dope, but really dealing hope. And that's where I really got that idea of, I want to be that person of when people are in need, when they feel hopeless, when they feel like they don't have anyone in their corner and they don't know what to do. The pharmacist is the hope dealer, because we have a tremendous opportunity to meet people at a soul level and provide not just medication and counseling, all that essential stuff, but really bring the humanity into it. And I really believe that every single person, whether you're a pharmacist, a nurse, or a physician, you're put into a patient's life at literally some of the most vulnerable times they'll ever experience. So yes, your expertise, your medical training, all that's essential. But imagine the impact you can have when you can really connect with someone and pour into them as a human, and they feel seen, heard, acknowledged, like someone is in their corner, someone that has tremendous power and influence as a healthcare provider. So that's kind of where my journey started and why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, man. Your start is like a real reason to get in this, not just because of money or something like this. And you can tell when someone has a passion like that, they make a big impact. Like you was closing out with like, a lot of people want to be heard, want to be understood. That is like the truest thing. Like I work in certain neighborhoods that are a little rough, and most pharmacists are scared to go there and work there. But I'm the one that's being shipped there, or go there, or volunteer to be there, because I understand the culture there. And
Yes.
people are afraid of it, but only thing that somebody really wants is to be heard and for you to listen and give them sound advice, right?
Exactly.
Because once I do that, once I sit back and I listen to them, they come back and they be like, thank you for this. Thank you for taking the time. No one actually spoke with me. No one I felt like no one cared. From the going to the hospital to picking up my prescriptions, this is the first time that I've met a medical provider that sat there and really broke down what the medication is for, why am I taking it, what should I look out for. So like those type of things makes the profession better, because when we have that type of passion, our patients actually feel it and understands that.
Exactly, man. And I really want to acknowledge you for that, because here's something that, whether you're a pharmacist or doctor, and you will learn this with time, but if you learn this as early on as your career as possible, it's going to prevent what I call butt hurt, of being offended and having a problem. So this is real talk. So you might get upset. This might ruffle some feathers, but this is literally reality. So I'm going to dispense this to y'all real quick. And this is something, again, we met recently, but it's from what you're saying, being in those situations, those neighborhoods, it's something that you understand, whether it's a conscious or subconscious level, because you're leading with love. And when you have a patient that's being, obnoxious or mean or all that stuff, you have to realize something so profound and so truthful. All that you've got going on, all that like backlash, that whatever you want to call it, it's not about you. It might feel like that, but the minute, the second, the instant that you take that as a personal attack, it's over, because you feel attacked and you're going to defend yourself. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying lay out the carpet and let people walk all over you. There's got to be boundaries and professionalism and all that. However, when someone comes out of a hospital because their wife just got hit by a car, when their neighbor just got murdered and you're helping get some, medication for their family, when you were just in a car crash, when you just got told that you've got diabetes and you associate with that it's, quote, a death sentence, not my words, but many patients' beliefs. Imagine the state of mind someone's in, especially if they're not aware of their feelings, their emotions, coming into the pharmacy, coming into just being diagnosed, and you're the first physician they see, and they're scared, they're terrified. It's not about you. A lot of times that pain, that anger, all that stuff is a projection of inner workings, of things that are unresolved. So when they're doing these things that are, less than desirable, to say it lightly, you have to realize that it's not them attacking you. It's them saying, I'm in pain. I need help. That's literally what they're saying if you boil it down. So if you come back at them because you feel that it's personal, you're going to create dissonance and probably complaints and maybe even a fight or altercation. And I've seen this before. But the people that are really leading the change in these really challenging communities like yourself, they approach it with a very different perspective. They have boundaries. They don't let people walk all over them, but they approach it with love. They approach it with compassion. And it's not like, oh, I'm too good to go in that neighborhood, because let's look at the ultimate purveyor of love, Jesus Christ. He loved people unconditionally. People would come to him, but who would he hang out with? Would he hang out with the high and mighty, the people that were royalty? No, he would hang out with the sinners, the prostitutes, the people that felt lost and broken. And he showed them love. And while they had a lot of issues, while they had a lot of pain, while they were labeled as, outcasts from society, he showed up with love. And exactly what you just said, sir. They said, thank you for seeing me, for hearing me. I've been through the system for decades and no one's given me the time of day. They tell me what to do and I feel like no one's listening. But when you literally listen, and people mistake this, they think it's listening like, oh, it's just passive. Listening is one of the most active things you can do because you're actually hearing other people when you set your own agendas, your own perceptions, your own discriminations aside, your own biases, your own prejudices, and you show up to listen and really hear what people are saying. When you do that, you build a relationship like no other. And here's something, whether you're a pharmacist or physician, here's another dose of truth. All healthcare is founded on one principle: trust. Because if you look at it, we're selling people. We are all salesmen, saleswomen. I'm not saying pushing products or anything like that. You are selling advice. You are selling someone to change medication. You are selling someone that has not been taking their medication on taking it, on adding another one because there's a gap that you as a provider have identified and are leading them to. You are selling them the idea. And when you are in sales, you cannot make a sale until there is trust. Now, we're at an awesome advantage because as providers with the white coat or wherever you are, a lot of times we start with what I call blind trust. And I always think of this example. Someone rolls in the pharmacy, they've never seen you before, and they say, hey, I have AIDS, what can I take? That's a lot of trust. Holy crap. Holy crap. So what are you going to do with that? Because that's a tremendous gift. Are you going to get judgmental eyes and back up 10 feet? Or are you going to show up with compassion and love and walk them through the process? Because it's only through trust that you're able to lead them to outcomes, regardless of what your practice setting is. So if you can do this, if you can take that trust and nurture that through listening, through compassion, through love, not only are you going to feel more fulfilled because your patients listen to you, they respect you, and they're going to allow you to do your job, but you're going to be able to help these people. And I think that's what I call the ultimate win-win-win framework. You win, your patients win, and everyone involved wins. And I really think that's what we're all here to do, is win in helping other people live their healthiest lives possible.
Nice. Facts. There's so much in there. Like just even in like the neighborhood I'm in, I just took over a store. It's probably one of the worst in the district. And I just fixed the store and made it one of the best. So, that's the transition of working in a retail pharmacy. They move you to keep making impacts into different communities. But one of the things that one of the technicians I have now does very well that I didn't have to coach him on is acknowledgement.
Yes.
Because when you have a line, he automatically just goes out there and be like, I see you, ma'am. I see you, sir. I will be with you in a moment. And that right there stops 90% of the arguments, 90% of them getting upset. Because most people just want to be acknowledged. They don't want to stand in line for 10 minutes and no one says anything. I always tell them, greet everyone. Like I try to say, we're going to make this the Chick-fil-A of the region.
There we go.
We're gonna greet them with a smile, tell them hello, and then we can be able to help them. Let's start them off on the right foot, and then we can be able to progress like that. So
that's spot on, man. And I really appreciate that you do that and you're sharing this with everyone listening, because here's the deal. If you look at, and I really like getting the intricacies. So whether you're a pharmacist and you've got patients complaining, whether you're a physician in the ER, whether you're a PA, a nurse, and you have people complaining, angry, all this stuff, if you boil it down, like the specifics will be different. But if you really boil it down to what is the common thread, it's this. They say that they feel like no one cares. No one's listening. So when you do that, when you acknowledge, when someone's upset and you say, I can see you're upset, tell me how I can help you. When they're frustrated or you see someone in line tapping their foot or, rolling their eyes, all that stuff. If you say like, I understand that it's lengthy, we'll be with you as soon as possible. We want to give everyone, the best care possible. So that's really it. Is a lot of times, and this is reality, we're all short staffed. We're under, don't have the hours, all that stuff. And that's reality. But I say that here's something that's true with every situation, every interaction. What's wrong is always available, but so is what is right. And exactly what you said, you have the opportunity to have a simple conversation. So this happened to me, and I want to share this because this might help people listening, of getting resourceful. Because a lot of times we say we don't have the money, we don't have the hours, and that might be very true. But what do you have? Because that's available. So I had something happen a few years ago at my pharmacy. I had this patient come in, her wife or her husband, actually. He said, hey, my wife's a cancer patient, real serious stage 3, and she's on some narcotics. And I know that, you pharmacists, you've got your policies and all that, and I respect that. But I just want to let you know that she's very fragile. She's not really in that great of a place. So if you have any issue or like you can't fill it or anything at all, like I respect that, but don't tell her, call me, because she's just so fragile, she won't be able to handle it. So I was like, okay. Next day, this woman comes in, sweet as pie. And she, I talked to the husband. So she comes in and says, are you Adam? And I'm like, yo. So, it was a script for oxycodone. So she was waiting around. I did it real quick. And I was like, man, I know this, a part of this woman's backstory. I know she's in pain. And I know that she's probably been through the system with all kind of stuff and policy. I want to make her feel special. I want to make her feel welcome. What can I do? So I looked around and thought, how can I get resourceful? And it hit me. I saw a magical tool, smiley face stickers of different colors. So I got an idea. I asked her, what's your favorite color? And she said, blue. So, okay. Now I didn't tell her what I was doing. I just asked her color, right? So I filled the script, all this. Then I took a blue smiley face sticker. I put it on the prescription bag. So when the technician was ringing her up, and the moment her eyes met that sticker, man, she just changed state. She got so excited. She's like, you don't know how much this means. I've been in the hospital all day. Like this whole thing, to the point where we now are like so good friends. And this was years ago. But how much did that cost? Because you can get, for real, like 1,000 of those stickers for $8 on Amazon. So less than a penny. So it didn't cost extra money. Did it take me extra time? Did it take me extra tech hours? All it was is a simple question. And here's another dose of truth I want to share. The quality of questions you ask will directly determine the quality of life you live. So if you recognize someone that's in pain, you really connect with them by asking, how can I get resourceful in this situation? That's the question I asked. Then I asked a real important question. What's your favorite color? And literally from those two questions, this amazing relationship between provider and patient was formed. And it literally continues through this day, years and years later. So I tell this story not to impress anybody, but to impress upon you the reality that while, yes, you have tons of things stacked against you, you also have tons of things stacked within you. Because I really believe this to my soul. Every single person was created on purpose for a purpose. You were put in this person's life. You were put in this position, whether it's a pharmacy, a hospital, whatever it is, to make an impact, to really connect with someone. And I believe there's 3 reasons people come into our life. They're either there for them to teach you something, for you to teach them something, or both. And that's what I call the win-win-win framework. So when you approach it with that way, instead of getting butthurt and saying like, oh, why are they up in my face, blah, 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 perhaps they're showing you an area that you need to improve in yourself. Because I really believe that people are mirrors to ourselves. So if you get all worked up and offended, perhaps that's God trying to bring this person into your life to tell you that's an area of your life that you need to really look into. Maybe that's a past trauma. Maybe that's a broken relationship. Maybe that's your upbringing. But here's another truth. Life is a classroom, and lessons will be repeated until learned. Life is a classroom, and lessons will be repeated until learned. How come I keep dating the same person? How come this keeps happening to me? Lessons will be repeated until learned. So look at people, like even challenges. Instead of calling them problems, flip it to challenges. That puts you in a more resourceful state. Then ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn from this situation? How am I supposed to give in this situation? Because you have to ask yourself another important question. Is what I'm about to do consistent with the quality of person that I must become? When you come up with this framework and you really take ownership and look in the mirror and you really lead with that, it's going to change your life, because that's what we're here to do for other people. Change lives, impact, really lead that. Like, yes, medication, all your knowledge, but imagine how you'll feel when you see someone who for the first time in years, maybe their whole life, you don't know people's story. You can see in their face that they're actually being respected as a human being and not just a number, not just patient number 5, not just you're the last one till lunch break, but I'm here to serve you on a level deeper than I even realize, but I'm going to show up as my best so I can help lead you to your best, because perhaps you were created for such a time as this, because you, my friend, are fearfully and wonderfully made. So how are you going to show up? And when you really get in this mindset every day, it's not that you have good days and bad days. It's you have growth opportunities, and every single one of them is a blessing. And I'm telling y'all, listen to this. This is not a pipe dream, because I've been on the front lines for going on 11 years. So I didn't just graduate and I don't have like beginner's bliss. There are challenges out there. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying ignore your problems, because I live in Pittsburgh. We get rain 400 out of 365 days a year. So for it to be raining outside and me to tell you to just go outside when it's raining, close your eyes and say, it's sunny, it's sunny, it's sunny. You're soaking wet. Get an umbrella. But here's the thing. Acknowledge your problems, your challenges, but only spend about 10% of your time on it. Spend 90% of the time on the solution. So if it's raining outside, using this analogy, if it's raining outside, get an umbrella. But when you're outside, recognize that because it's raining, you just got a free car wash. Your flowers are getting watered. Now you just saved an hour of time. I wonder what else will go right today. You're changing your frame. You're not ignoring their challenges. You're acknowledging them, but you're also looking for, how is this working for me? Because this is one of the biggest things that will change your life, especially if you're in a crap hole, because we all go through those crap storms, whatever you want to call it. You can ask one of two questions. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not discounting any injustice. I'm not saying that what you're going through isn't difficult. We've all gone through, are in, or will go through intense pain that I don't wish on anyone. But again, it's not the circumstances that define you. It's the meaning you choose to make from the circumstance that makes your reality. So this is going to be hard to hear if you're in the middle of this crap. But if you look back on previous crap storms that you've overcome, I think you'll resonate with what I'm going to share. When you're in this stuff, you can ask one of two questions. Why is this happening to me? I must be unlucky. God must hate me. Things must be terrible. Or, how is this happening for me? Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's challenging, but perhaps it's challenging me to grow and get resourceful, to become a man, to become a woman that I never would have had to if I hadn't faced this challenge, right? So when you would, again, address the situation, I'm not saying be, a blind optimist. I'm saying be a realistic strategist with life. When you do this, your whole life will get an upgrade, because you look for the things that are right. Because with everything, there's always something wrong, but there's always something right too. Which one are you going to focus on? Because where focus goes, energy flows. And the way to direct your focus is through the power of questions.
Man, I feel like I just sat through one of the best motivational speeches I've heard in a long time. I hope
Oh, thanks, man.
everyone take all the good information out of here, man. One of the things that stuck with me that you just said, um, it's your quality of questions that gives you the quality of life, or something like that.
Yes, sir.
And man, like I had to sit back and think about it. Like the quality of questions you ask, no matter what it is, if it's just getting to know someone, if it's getting through an issue, if it's just trying to figure out a solution, the quality of the question that you ask will give you the product or the answer that you need to move forward.
That's the truth. That's real talk. That's real talk right there. And here's why. So our brains as human beings, they're supercomputers. They are designed to do one function, give you answers. Now, if you want a certain answer, you have to ask a certain question. Because if you ask things like, and so there's a lot of limiting beliefs in healthcare because we demand a lot from ourselves and we're around extremely intelligent people. Like, so it's very easy for all of us through different seasons in our life, in our professional life, to feel less than, to feel like an imposter, to feel like, oh, that's success. I could never do that. That's for other people. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not skilled enough. I don't have enough experience. I'm too old. I'm too young, and on and on and on. So where does that come from? It comes from our questions. How come I'm not farther ahead? How come they're winning and I'm not? That's the question. And your brain is a supercomputer. It's kind of like absolute values in math. Whatever you put in, you get out. So if you ask questions like, how come they're winning and I'm not? Your brain will look for answers to answer that question. Oh, because they're working hard and you slack off, because you're lazy, because you know you're supposed to do stuff, but you don't. How do you think that's going to make you feel? And if
Yeah,
you feel disempowered, do you think you're going to take more or less action? And when you take, for real, so this is a real thing in healthcare. This is going to help everybody. So you have this perception that you're less than. You have this perception that you're behind and everyone else is farther ahead than you. I know this is how all of y'all are like, oh man, he's in my head now. I know because I coach some of the best people in healthcare on this exact thing. They are tremendously gifted, but because of a toxic relationship, parents that were absent, people that bullied them their whole life, they believe these things. Because if you hear something often enough, you start to believe it is truth. And while that's a fact, you can take that and rewire it. So let me ask you a question. We're going to walk through this real quick. Let's say that you're starting a new job. You're really excited about it. And so you get on LinkedIn and you start connecting and you start seeing people with like 10,000 comments in an hour. They've got 50 million connections. And here you are starting out. And you feel like you thought like you were all set. You had a good spot. But then you start looking around and looking at other people and start questioning yourself. Man, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. I wonder if I made a mistake. So here's what happens. You start looking around at other people. You start getting into the comparison trap and you start to feel less than. Let me ask you a question. If you start asking questions about why am I not farther ahead? How come they're doing all this stuff and I'm stuck here? If you ask those questions, what kind of answers do you think you'll get? Because you don't have any experience. You don't have the degree. You like to sleep in and not do your work. You're a slacker. You're a procrastinator. These are all reasons. These are answers to the exact question you ask. What if instead you said, look at these people. I wonder if I can reach out to them and they can become a mentor. I wonder if they have stuff that they can teach me. Like your case, sir, I wonder if I can start a podcast and interview them to learn and model the mentors, to take these nuggets of wisdom from their journey and not only help myself, but share it with other people. I wonder what richness that will add to my life. Now, that's the question that you ask. And because of that, you're growing, you're connecting, you're networking, and you're helping a lot of people in the process.
yeah.
When you do that, when you talk with me and the other amazing people that you have on your show, like that I'm going to be learning a lot from myself, you're going to get inspired. You're going to get charged. You're going to learn something and put it into practice. Let me ask you a question. When you use your framework of reaching out, interviewing people, learning the stuff, sharing it with others, you feel inspired. You see change because you put it into practice and you help others. When you look back and recognize that, how does that make you feel?
Man, it makes me feel amazing. Like I'm happy to see my own growth. Like
Yes,
I wake up and I go, you know what? This is what I wanted 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and I'm achieving it now. I'm like,
exactly.
man, like some days, like you say, you have those opportunity days, those difficult days. But then when I think about it and see that I'm actually making progress, that makes me want to make more progress. Like
Exactly.
I don't want to let myself down. So it's like I gave myself the goal and I told I was going to get there. Now the route may change every so often, but I'm still going towards the goal. I'm still trying to make it there.
Exactly. And as we all know, the potential of any human being is unlimited. Like you look at anyone who crushed it in life, Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, anyone at all, they all never even came close to their full potential, as great as they were. So the potential of any human being is unlimited. So if what you just said, when by doing this podcast, by reaching out, by interviewing people, it increases your belief in yourself, you feel great. Do you think that you're going to tap more or less of your potential?
Oh, definitely going to tap in more. Every day I feel
Yes.
like I'm going further.
So if you believe in yourself and you're getting this great stuff, it leads you to tap more of your potential. Do you think that's going to lead you to take more or less action towards your goals?
Definitely more actions every day.
So when you take more action towards your goals and it's effective action, do you feel like that's going to lead to greater or lesser results?
You know, you already know greater results. We every day is a building. Like I have a family group message, and in the message always says, "Good morning," you know, the greeting, and I'm like, let's make ourselves better, 1% better today. Let's go 100% today to make ourselves 1% better every day.
So
So
when you
every day,
exactly, so when you see those results of improvement, do you think that's going to cause you to have greater or lesser belief in yourself?
greater.
So you see how this is a cycle. So you have the belief, you tap more potential, leading you to take more action, leading you to get better results. You see the results and you're like, wow, that was amazing. I wonder what else I can do. You get stronger belief, you tap even more potential, you get more results, and on and on and on. And that is called the success cycle fueled by momentum. That's positive. But this exact cycle is the exact thing that can support you in growth, but it's also the same cycle that can keep you stuck and make you feel less than. So let's take this exact framework and flip it. Because how did we get this success cycle rolling? We asked an empowering question. We saw people that were farther ahead on LinkedIn, more connections, all the stuff, the comparison trap. Instead, we looked at the inspiring trap. We looked at, wow, these are people I can model and learn from. And you went through that cycle, you reached out, you brought them on the podcast, you learned stuff, you shared it and all that stuff. Well, what if we did the opposite approach? Let's walk through this real quick. Let's say that we get in a comparison. Let's say that we look at people and it's like, wow, I should be farther in ahead than I am right now. Who am I kidding? These people are crushing it. I wonder why I'm so far behind. Those are the questions you ask. And your brain is a supercomputer. Whatever you ask, you shall receive. So when you ask questions like, how come I'm so far behind? Your brain's going to give you answers because you're lazy, you procrastinate, you're a slacker. So when you get answers from your brain that tell you that you're a slacker, you're a procrastinator, do you think that's going to empower your belief or lessen your belief?
I'm going to lesson because now you really think you are a procrastinator.
Yes.
And when you know or think you're a procrastinator, you start procrastinating more. Like
Yes.
now, I would say some people need that so that they know what their problem is so they can try to break it. And
Yes.
some people sit in their problem. Like,
Yes. So when they focus on this, oh, I'm a procrastinator, I'm no good, I slack off, I've failed before. Do you think that's going to lead you to tap into less or more of your potential?
oh yeah, most people are going to tap into less because
So
they
when you
feel like
yeah,
they good enough is good enough and they're where they should be.
so when you tap less of your potential, do you think you're going to take more or less action?
Definitely less actions.
So if you take less action, what kind of results do you think you're going to get? Better or less results?
Weak results.
So when you get weak results, you look at them, do you think that's going to help your belief in feeling better about yourself or feeling like less than?
Oh yeah, you're not gonna feel as good as and as empowered. You're gonna be feeling a little less than.
So you're gonna be like, wow, I screwed up again. So you're gonna take even less potential. Because you tap less potential, you're then gonna take little, if any, action. And if you take no action, you're gonna get little or no results. And then you're gonna look at those results and say, see, I knew I couldn't do it. Who was I kidding? And those cycles are the exact same. The only difference is fueled by the question you ask. And we all have been in both cycles where we feel like the world's on our side. We get green lights the whole way. Well, literally, God's favored us. And we've also had times where we look at the sky and say, what did I do to deserve this? We've all been in both of those cycles. And I'm sharing this very importantly so that you guys can see it's flipped by the questions you choose to ask, because questions direct your focus. Again, it's not ignoring your challenge. It's how you approach your challenge and choose to view it through the power of questions that will ultimately determine the quality of life you live. It really is that simple. But as healthcare providers, how often do we overcomplicate things? So that's what I hope that y'all get out of this, is it really is that simple. It's just sometimes simple is not easy when we get caught up in who we have to become and who we have to prove ourselves to be, and where our sources for our value and identity. When you can really flip that and look at the correct things by asking the right questions, you'll come up with a quality of life and growth that is just unmatched. And when you keep that going, let me ask you another question. Let's say that you get a raise, or you get acknowledged, or you get an award. What's the first thing you want to do? Share it with other people. Yeah. So when good comes to your life, you want to share it with others and help them too. So imagine the quality of life that not only you'll live, but you'll inspire and help others, which is exactly what you're doing with this podcast, my man. So I just want to give you props to that and let everyone know this is literally how you flip it around. If you feel stuck, if you feel in a rut, it's literally, this is how you do it.
Yeah, I like something you said in there. A lot of good things you said, but this one thing kind of stood out to me just now. The answer or something could be simple, but it could be difficult or not easy. And that makes a lot of sense. Like even with the podcast, right? Let's just talk about pitting out content. The solution is simple: pit out content.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy task, because you have to create it, you have to edit it, you have to do so much. So when people are like, yo, wait, you're like, oh, I see you putting out a lot of content. That looks so simple. You're like, yes, it is simple, but it's not easy. Like we have to stay on top of it. You have to be on the road. You have to schedule out time to create the content. You have to schedule out time to edit it. You have to create the post. You have to make sure it's engaging. Yes, it's simple, but it's not easy. Just like anything in life, like you said, start a new job. You get there, the location could be terrible. They're like, fix it. You're like, that's simple, but it's not easy. I have to get the right team. When you get a team in place, you got to create what I call culture in the workplace, because everything starts with the culture.
Yes.
You got to create people to want to come to work and perform at their best. Like I tell everyone at my job, hey, we might not all be friends, but we all will be friendly. When you come here, I don't want no one to look at the schedule and say, ah, man, I don't want to work with that person. I want you to look at the schedule and be like, yo, I'm going to work and it's a party here. I want to work, right. I'm gonna have a good time. I'm gonna get the job done and I'm gonna leave. And that's what it is about. Coming to work, feeling good, making an impact and leaving. Like create the culture. Once the culture is created, the metrics, everything else falls in place, because now people would want to come in early or stay in late, or what is ideal, you train them to a point where they become so efficient that they only work the time that they're supposed to work and get everything done. I used to tell my technicians at my last store, I'm like, this is the easiest job you'll ever have. And they're like, why you say that? I say, because at this point, you're so well trained that we can get a day's worth of work done in half the day. So for the other half of the day, we're able to have meaningful conversation with the patients. We're able to go out and show them where the medications are over the counter. We're able to have conversations that's going to lead to, like how you had the sticker for the lady, that's going to lead to everlasting relationships. Like when I go to certain stores that I used to work at, I walk in, face mask, because we still got the mask mandate and all that. They recognize me through the mask and be like, I miss you. I wish you were back in here. Your presence is missed. And I'm like, that is the reason we are working. We're working not just to give them medication, not to just to give them information, but to give them a better outlook, to give them a reason or a look to come into the pharmacy. Like I've had people come to the pharmacy and be like, I live 20 minutes away. It is a store right beside my house, but I come here because the vibes here are different. The energy here is different. I like you guys here. And I'm like, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Amen. Amen. And something you said is really profound. And it's another tip that I want to give to all your listeners. So you said that it's a party in here, and that resonates, man, because when I graduated, I graduated pharmacy school in 2012, and I'd be talking to people and I'd be like, how's your job? And they'd be like, oh, I have to go to work. I have to go to the pharmacy. I have to go and make my paycheck. Now, when you frame your job like that, do you think that's going to inspire you? So language is so important because it's not necessarily your experience. It's how you label the experience is how it becomes the experience. So I got innovative. Instead of calling it, I'm going to pharmacy, I call it, I'm going to club pharmacy because we're going to have a party up in here. For real, I've been doing this for years. Like that really caught on. That was like a national thing. I don't know if it still is. So that's how I framed it. And people look at me like I was nuts. They're like, wait, you work at a club? I thought you were a pharmacist. I'm like, no, I'm club pharmacy, yo. Like, this is a party up in here. For real, I actually did this. And it caught people so off guard because it reframed what they believed their experience was going to be. Because think about this. You're working. You're going to work tomorrow. You either go to work or you go to club pharmacy. They're the same place, but which one's going to evoke a different vibe? Which one's going to evoke a different level of energy and how you're going to show up? I prefer to have a party because I'm going to be there anyway. So I'm going to have a good time and everyone's invited. Now there's some house rules. You got, all this stuff. So if you make it fun, you just change the language slightly. It's literally going to invite your staff, yourself, and your patients to not just go to the pharmacy, but to have an experience. And that's really what people are craving. They're craving experience through connection. And if you can create that, you will be exactly as you describe, the person people drive extra for because they want that culture. And yes, it really is that simple of just changing words, changing your questions. It's not blind optimism. I wanted to really drive this home. It's not just being positive, because here's the thing you all have to hear, and I want to really sum it up with this. You might be feeling a certain way right now. You might be pumped, but here's the thing you got to know. I'm not a motivational speaker. If you want to get pumped up, go to the gym. I'm here to give you strategies that will actually help, but you have to hear me loud and clear. Motivation and inspiration do not cause transformation. Only action does that. So while you might hear things that sound good, it's not going to do jack unless you put it into practice. So that's my challenge. I hope you guys got a lot of value from this and from this awesome podcast that this dude's putting out for y'all. But I want to challenge you, just at least one thing you heard. I want you to think about, of all the stuff you heard here, what one thing are you going to implement in your life today, tomorrow? And I want to challenge you to take that one thing and implement it every day for at least 10 days in a row. Now, if it works, definitely don't go beyond 10 days. Stop at 10. But what I want to tell you is when you do this consistently, that's really the secret. We all think we have to do these intense things. If I want to get well, I'm going to go on a 2-week retreat in Bora Bora. That's not really practical, especially if you're in $200K in debt from school. So what can you do simply? It's not the intensity. This is what gets a lot of us tripped up. We think that in order to make change, we have to do intense things. It's consistency that trumps intensity. Consistency trumps intensity. And the most intense thing you can do is be consistent, because no one does that craziness. So a podcast. Now, if you did an episode, March 1st and then April 9th and then April 15th, it's not consistent. You're not going to build an audience. You're not going to create an experience. But when you're consistent with your process, with whether it's a podcast, whether it's you listening and you're growing your development or your wellness or whatever that might be, it's consistency that is the answer. Again, we overcomplicate things. We're experts in this. I mean, how do you spell hydrochlorothiazide? I don't know. But for real, we do this stuff to ourselves all the time, but we have to give ourselves a dose of grace. Because here's another thing. We give grace to other people, but all too often we don't accept it for ourselves.
Yeah,
So when you really take this to heart and put it into practice, that's when your practice will change.
yeah. Man, I feel like we touched so much and gave so much information that if someone listens to this podcast or listens to this episode, they gotta feel like they need to go out there and, like you said, start to be more consistent, ask better quality questions. And to build the habit, it takes 21 days. And if they do those things for 21 days and they have a journal and they see where they start to where they at, it'll be a lifelong journey for them doing those things, getting better daily.
What you just said is really important. I want to highlight that. Keep a journal of where you are and how far you've come. Here's something that healthcare professionals, pharmacists, doctors are so good at. We're so good at achieving a goal. And before we even like get the ceremony, like let's say we get awarded a thing, right? We get an award. Before we even get to the ceremony, we say, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Here's something y'all have to hear. If you do not keep score, you will feel like you're losing when you're really winning. So the antidote to that, I'm not saying ride on your coattails. I'm not saying get an ego party. What I'm saying is acknowledge the progress that you are making so that you can keep making more progress, because you can feel like you're losing when you're really winning if you do not keep score. So what you said is so, so important. I really want people to hear that, man. So thank you for sharing.
Man, no, I need to thank you for coming on, giving all this great information. So I just need you to do one thing for me. Let everybody know who you are, what you do, what products, with counseling, how you help with work-life balance, and where they can find you at. Because I know after this episode, they will be knocking on your door. So let them know.
Pharmacy's open. Come to Club Pharmacy.
Club Pharmacy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So if y'all want to interact, engage, my main platform is on Instagram. It's all one word, The Fit Pharmacist. I do have a podcast myself, the Fit Pharmacist Healthcare Podcast. We've been going 5 years now. So again, consistency, right? So that's a great place. There's also a private community on Facebook. So if you liked this conversation, we have ongoing conversations like this. It's a safe place where you can go and say, yo, I'm struggling, but I want a solution. Because here's something we all know, whether you're a pharmacy, whatever your healthcare profession is, there are tons of Facebook groups, pages where you can go and it's a complaint fest. It really makes you feel inspired. You talk about how things are so terrible. Yeah, you're laughing because you know how true it is. There's these pages like 200K, right? 200K likes. And all it is how terrible pharmacy is. Pharmacy is a dying profession, blah, blah, blah. I feel so inspired. Well, I was kind of tired of that. So I created a community that invites people in that they want to address the problem, but they want to be a part of the solution. I'm struggling with this, but I want to resolve it. What can I do? Or I have people do this. Hey, I used to struggle with this. I got this simple strategy and it's really helping. So people sharing what's working, people encouraging one another. Hey, like for me, I coach people in addition to, mindset and wellness. I coach them on how to build your brand, how to launch your business, how to scale that from an interest and hobby to side hustle money. And a lot of my clients actually end up leaving their current job and doing that full time, which is freaking fantastic. Yeah. So how do I start that? How do I build a personal brand? How do I grow on social media? How do I become a professional speaker? Anything in your life that you have a passion towards and you want to take that passion, gear it towards serving a certain person or group of people. When you take your passion and put it towards others, it becomes your purpose. And I think that's what we all really want to do is we want to live a purpose-driven life to impact people by using our gifts that were given to us, but they're not for us. They're for us to steward and develop so that we can help other people through them. So imagine a community like that where you grow this both personally and professionally. You have a community that these are all go-getters, right? So if you feel like, oh, I'm not there yet, we've got students in there. We've got people just graduating. We've got people 10 plus years out in the community. but they're committed to growing. They're committed to constant and never-ending improvement and sharing the journey along the way. Because if you keep it to yourself, it's not going to be fulfilling. But if you share it and help other people grow from what you've learned, that's fulfillment on another level. So that's really what I want to invite y'all. Hit me up on Instagram. Let me know. It is a private community. So we really foster that and nurture that, because that is like a family. So if you like this, definitely connect with me on Instagram at the Fit Pharmacist. Feel free to hit me up, send me a DM. And if you have struggle and problems or questions, I'd be happy to help, because that's what we're all here for. We're here to help. We're here to help take what we've learned and share that with other people so that they can dispense their full potential.
Listen, Adam, the Fit Pharmacist on Instagram. Listen, I appreciate you for taking the time to come out and giving us a whole different perspective. I felt like this episode was a different vibe than all of my others. All of my others felt more tailored to like a script. And I like how we went off and really just kind of really had a conversation.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, my
appreciate
pleasure. I always say flip the script. Like, life's too scripted. You know, you're supposed to do this, we're supposed to do that. What if you just became the person that you were designed to be and lived that and just kept going and really lead with your heart? Because that's how we started this whole thing. How do we get through all this? How do we get into neighborhoods that are challenging? You lead with love, unconditional, not I'll do this. It's not transactional. It's not if you're a good person, I'll be a good person to you. It's how can I love thy neighbor? And who's your neighbor? The person you're living next to? Or what about the person who has a different religion than you? The person that doesn't believe the same things? The lesbian, the gay, the straight, anyone, the black, the Asian, the white boy, anybody, everybody is your neighbor. And when you can approach people and love them unconditionally, you're going to live a life filled with love. And if you show up with that in your career, imagine the lives you'll change. So love your neighbor as yourself. That's how this whole podcast started. It really is all through love.
Nice. Man, Adam, thank you for joining Pill Talk Podcast. This is another great episode. We'll be reaching back to you. Got to get you back on again. But Pill Talk family, thank you for joining and seeing this episode. Hope this was your daily dose of motivation to keep you inspired.